What's going on, everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aiden, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got a couple of things I want to talk about in today's video. Obviously, a Chicago Bulls Weekly will be in this episode as well, but I also want to bring a little bit of the Chicago Bulls news, combining two videos into one, I guess you could say, because there's a lot to get through and not a lot of time to get through it, ladies and gentlemen, as we have a very early game against the Memphis Grizzlies to look forward to. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show. Turn notifications on and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls upcoming week, the previous week, as well as the news I'll be talking about today. I'm going to start off with the news aspect first, ladies and gentlemen, because we've got some injury updates to talk about. First things first, let's talk about Lonzo Ball, ladies and gentlemen. As we all know, he did miss the Boston Celtics game due to knee soreness. He was a big miss in this game, as again, we could have definitely seen a little bit more of that defensive presence in the game. But nevertheless, it is also looking like he's expecting to miss that game against the Memphis Grizzlies coming up. He was expected to miss multiple games due to his knee soreness, and obviously he's missed one. So the hopeful expectation that we could see him against the Cleveland Cavaliers in the game after, or hopefully the game after that, if he needs a little bit more time to readjust himself and to become a little bit healthier in terms of this NBA season. So obviously Lonzo Ball is going to be a big miss. Hopefully we can still pick up a win against the Memphis Grizzlies, and then we'll go from there, ladies and gentlemen. But nevertheless, it is going to be a tough time for Lonzo Ball. Hopefully he can come back sooner than later. Moving into Zach LaVine, ladies and gentlemen, I haven't actually talked a lot about Zach LaVine since he got his injury as well. Obviously, the game right after the Golden State Warriors was the Boston Celtics game. He ended up staying in Chicago, I believe, to get an MRI test, and it looks like it is all clear in terms of big damage, in terms of the ligament. It is a minor injury, I guess you could say, for the Chicago Bulls. He's expected to be re-evaluated within the next couple of days, which definitely means he will also be missing the Memphis Grizzlies game. But there is still optimism that he could return right after that against the Cleveland Cavaliers, depending on the severity of his injury. All we know is that he's not expected to miss significant time, which is the best news possible, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so happy that Zach LaVine is not going to miss a lot of time with this injury. But again, every game counts, and it's going to suck to see him not play against Memphis. He's a big part of this team. He's one of the best players on this team. And I think we've seen over the course of the game in the Boston Celtics game that we could have really used another player that could score the ball and another player that could kind of diversify the way that we played in our offense. Nevertheless, ladies and gentlemen, Zach LaVine is also going to be a huge miss. But there's positive towards the tunnel, ladies and gentlemen, and that is going to be Alex Caruso. He's another one that we're going to be talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Alex Caruso is expected to, or first off, he's out of health and safety protocols, which is fantastic to see. And obviously Alex Caruso himself is very excited about that, posting on Twitter, I believe. And also he's expected to miss this Memphis Grizzlies game, just so he could be in a position where he could recondition himself and be able to play in the future NBA games. We saw with Derrick Jones Jr. something that we did make a mistake in. As soon as he exited health and safety protocols, he ended up playing against the Lakers, and he did re-hurt himself. So that is obviously something we do not want to see again. So with Alex Caruso, it's a smart move to make him miss this Memphis game. No need to rush him into any unnecessary circumstances, and he should be available to play against the Cleveland Cavaliers if all things are right and everything goes well for the Chicago Bulls. So as far as I'm aware, this is the news update for the Chicago Bulls. And again, if there is any more that comes down the line, I'll be sure to post a video about it, ladies and gentlemen. But as far as this point in time, these are the injury updates for the Chicago Bulls. Many people will see them as optimistic and happy. Other people might not see it as such. But again, let's just hope that in the future we get to see all of these guys back and ready to go. Moving into the Chicago Bulls weekly aspect of things, where we look at the previous week for the Chicago Bulls, give some awards for that week, and also look forward to the upcoming week for the Chicago Bulls. Firstly, the previous week, we ended up playing 5 games this week, and we had one of our worst weeks of our season, ladies and gentlemen. We went 1-4 in this stretch. Obviously, we versed some good quality teams. Injuries played a factor as well, and lack of effort did reign through for the Chicago Bulls for some of these games. Let's first off start off with the Dallas Mavericks game, where we lost 113-99. This was a game where unfortunately this was the time where our win streak did come to an end. Our 9-game win streak, the highest for the Chicago Bulls in quite some time, and we ended up falling it away or giving it away to the Dallas Mavericks. They did play a lot better than us. Obviously at this time we weren't playing the best basketball, but we were finding ways to win. And this game was just another game where we didn't play well, but this time around, we did not win that game. Luka Doncic had an incredible game. The high pick and roll did a lot of damage for the Dallas Mavericks, and it did hurt the Chicago Bulls. And in that area, we definitely need a lot of improvements to work on. Moving into the next game against the Detroit Pistons, we had one of our biggest wins of the season as we beat Detroit 133-87. This game erupted pretty much after the first quarter into the second and mainly the third quarter. And the Chicago Bulls ran away with the win, having our biggest win of our season, which is fantastic to see. And this was a game where the Detroit Pistons didn't have their best players, and the Chicago Bulls took advantage of that, beat the team that's supposed to be beaten, and we did very well in that area. And we made a statement, in my opinion, in that win, showing that we can and we should be beating teams, and they're not going to come in and get easy wins over us if we can help it. But then obviously, ladies and gentlemen, after the second game of a back-to-back, we versed the Brooklyn Nets, ladies and gentlemen. And this one was a big one for the Chicago Bulls to lose as we lost 112-138. All in all, we did end up beating the Brooklyn Nets in terms of the season series. I don't think we versed Brooklyn again for the remainder of the season, but this was the game where we had Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and Kevin Durant to deal with. And in the end, there were some other players that did some big damage, but those three, mainly James Harden and Kevin Durant, had huge numbers over the Chicago Bulls. And a game where we didn't expect to get blown out in was definitely a statement win for the Brooklyn Nets as the Bulls looked to recover and looked to retaliate after that game against the Memphis Grizzlies. Unfortunately, they just simply could not do it as we versed the Golden State Warriors next, ladies and gentlemen, after a day's break, and we lost this game in much more convincing fashion, 138-96. One of the worst losses of our season, if not the official worst loss of our season so far, came to the Golden State Warriors. We versed them twice and we got blown out twice, so they clearly have our number, ladies and gentlemen, and let's hope we can find a way to rectify things if we end up versing them in a final series. Who really knows at this point in time? But this is obviously the game that Zach LaVine got hurt, and this was also the game where I simply went on a rant and talked about the effort of this team defensively. I understand the morale wasn't great at that time. Zach LaVine's not returning. He's our best player, one of our best players, and many people probably thought we weren't going to win the game, so they kind of dropped the effort levels. I understand all that, but you're an NBA athlete at the end of the day. You play on a very important team, a team that is expected to have a winning mentality. You need to find ways to put in the effort, and I really did question the effort of that game against the Warriors. And then the last game, ladies and gentlemen, against the Boston Celtics, a game where we had a 6-point lead within 2 minutes of the game, and we did end up choking that lead, ladies and gentlemen, as we lost to the Boston Celtics 114-112. Not the best, ladies and gentlemen. I think we can all say with a great, a great way that this is definitely a game where it could be seen as frustrating for the Chicago Bulls, but also the effort was definitely there, and we were extremely short-handed coming into this game with no Lonzo, no Zach LaVine, no Caruso, no Derrick Jones Jr., no Javonte Green, no Tyler Cook. I'm sure the list goes on, ladies and gentlemen. We played our two-way contract player, or I guess our 10-day contract player, I should say, in Malcolm Hill, and I thought he did okay in the game as well. But that just shows how short-staffed we really were against the Boston Celtics. And I did think we put one hell of a fight, but it would have been nice to walk away with the win. But you take what you're given in this league. We did choke in the last 2 minutes, and we lost the game to the Boston Celtics. Looking at the must improve for this stretch of games, look, to be honest, going 1-4 throughout the course of this week is something that I think last year's Chicago Bulls would probably be doing at full strength. So in reality, obviously a lot of our team was not present this week, which does obviously hinder the Chicago Bulls, but I am actually going to give it to the entire team because I do think 1-4, no matter who we're versing, no matter how jam-packed our schedule is very, I guess, unacceptable in many ways. I don't think many people want to see more weeks for the Bulls Bulls going 1-4 or not really getting any wins throughout the course of this week. We are currently on a 3-game losing streak as well. There's no real positive at the end of the tunnel in terms of this week. Everything seemed like a negative outside the Detroit game, and we just have a lot to work on to hope we do not rectify a week like this ever again. And the must improve goes to the whole team this week. I think that's a very easy decision, and I think if you asked the Chicago Bulls players, I think they would all say this entire team has a lot of work to do to make sure they can recover from a week like this. Looking at the sixth man of the week, it's very, very tough, ladies and gentlemen, but I do think I'm going to give it to Coby White. Coby and Ayo, I believe, I think Coby started 2 games this week, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it was only 1. And Ayo definitely started 1 this week. But outside of that, those 2 players were off of our bench, and I thought for the most part they did okay. But Coby White was the consistent in terms of his scoring. Again, I said it in the last video, even though Coby White was not at his best this team was not at his best, Coby White was still delivering on the scoring end for the Chicago Bulls, and that's something that we're going to need. Whether we're winning or whether we're losing, we need more scoring on this team, especially now without Zach LaVine. And Coby White's going to have a lot more of a bigger role on this team, and hopefully he could deliver in that area once we get to see Zach LaVine return. And the player of the week, ladies and gentlemen, it's a very hard one to give. At the end of the day, we ended up going a very, poor instance in this week. A lot of these players, I don't think really deserves a Player of the Week award, in my opinion. Again, 1-4, it's a big loss. Obviously, Zach LaVine can't get it. Coby White could potentially get it. I could potentially get it. Lonzo Ball is definitely someone that could get it as well. He had a tremendous game against Detroit. But a lot of those guys didn't end up playing some of these games. So in my opinion, I think I'm going to give it to Nikola Vucevic for this week, which is very surprising in my opinion. Again, I don't think he played well at all against Dallas. I thought he did okay against the Pistons. He had a pretty good stat line. Again, games like the Brooklyn Nets, I don't think he was present in very well at all. But then obviously the Warriors, I thought he did very well despite the defensive end. And Boston was obviously a fantastic game for him as well. So that's a very hard choice to give. And I think many people will say, I don't think Vucevic deserves that. And maybe he doesn't. But if I had to pick one, he's the one I would go with. I think DeMar had a very quiet week. And obviously without Zach LaVine, he was the targeted man. And at the end of the day, he tried to get other players involved. And other players stepped up. DeMar DeRozan was very quiet. So in my opinion, it's going to go to Nikola Vucevic this week. Could be a tough choice. I'm not sure. We'll wait and see what happens next week. Maybe it's a little bit of an easier choice. We have 4 games to look forward to, and it's going to be a very interesting 4 games at that. And hopefully by the time we get to a very important game in terms of the conference standings for the Chicago Bulls and our division as well, we get to see a lot of our players back so we can go and compete. First thing, we're going to verse the Memphis Grizzlies away from home. We're going to Memphis, ladies and gentlemen. They are on an incredible hot streak. Ja Morant has been playing at an MVP caliber level so far in this last stretch of games, and they've actually ended up going on a 10-game win streak, very similar to the Chicago Bulls. Both teams ended up having their win streak destroyed by the Dallas Mavericks. So the reality is, this is going to be a very hard game for the Chicago Bulls. The matchups are going to be very difficult for us as well, especially without Zach LaVine. They have a very good system. They play a very good brand of basketball. And I'm looking forward to this game, and hopefully we can learn from the Memphis Grizzlies, even if we do find a way to win that game. And I think we always have a chance if you put the effort in defensively. If we can go out and beat the Memphis Grizzlies, that'll be a huge win for our season, probably the most important considering our circumstance. Then obviously after that, we got the Cleveland Cavaliers at the United Center. We're returning home, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be versing, obviously, a very good Cleveland Cavaliers side. They're definitely a team that's given us trouble before, and I won't be surprised if they give us trouble again. This should hopefully be a game where we at least see Lonzo and Caruso return, 2 of our defensive leaders back in the team. Maybe we get to see Zach LaVine return. I don't know. It will be hard to say, and hopefully we will have more of an understanding of Zach LaVine's injury and I guess an update on that game. Maybe it'll be a week, maybe it'll be a little bit more, who knows. As long as it's not for the rest of the season, I'll be okay. Then we got a game against the Milwaukee Bucks away from home. A very important game for our conference. Obviously, we are still first in the East, I believe, at this point in time. But that could definitely fall in a matter of days. So we should be very careful. We should hopefully keep trying to defend that #1 spot in the Eastern Conference. And Milwaukee's one of those teams that are gunning for it. And also it helps the division rankings. If we can beat Milwaukee, our division ranking will be higher than theirs. And obviously, if it comes down to a situation where we both have the same record. What we are in our division could definitely help in that circumstance as well. It's a very important game against the Milwaukee Bucks, and one that I think we should walk out and try our very hardest to win. They are obviously a great team, and again, they have a lot more healthy players at this point than we do, so it's a very tough game for us. But again, I'll give us a chance if we do play the defense we played against Boston a little bit better, with better players coming in, of course. And that's actually it, ladies and gentlemen. There's only 3 games to look forward to instead of 4. My apologies. But again, that is the games that we have to look forward to. It's a very tough week, of course. Memphis, Cleveland, Bucks. All of them playing great basketball. All of them are in winning stages at the moment. Of course, each team has their own circumstances and all of their ups and down moments as per usual, as the Chicago Bulls do as well. But it's a very hard week. And of course, considering what we went in our previous week, many people won't give us much of a chance this week to go out and win every single one of these games, or even one of these games. In my opinion, in my eyes, we're just going to keep fighting. I'm not bothered about the record at the moment because I know our circumstance, but I want this team to be prideful, and I want this team to go out and make every game as difficult as possible for the opponent. That gives us a chance to win, that gives them a chance to lose, and if one of those teams do not come out playing well, we always have a chance if we put in that defensive effort and we have the offensive night that we had against Boston. Let's see what the Chicago Bulls can do. I have a great lot of faith in these players. I know many people don't because we're on a 3-game losing streak, but at their best, I trust a lot of these players to deliver us some wins. So let's see what they can do. We're not at our best. We might not be at our best until the end of the week, maybe even into next week, but we'll just have to keep fighting and we'll live with the results, ladies and gentlemen. As long as the Bulls keep putting up that effort, there's not much I can really complain about, especially towards this stretch of the season. Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the news, the week, previous week, awards, everything of that nature, and I'll be sure to get back to you, ladies and gentlemen. A very early game against Memphis, only a few hours away. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get some sleep. For you guys, get ready, get energized, and I'll see you in the game reaction against the Memphis Grizzlies. Take care and peace.